Hey y'all, welcome to our channel, The Six Functional Family. You know where every day is dysfunctional. If y'all don't know who I am, I'm Kisara. This is my beautiful family here. And if you're a subscriber, you know who we are. And we love you guys so much. And thank you for the support. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can get notified for future videos. I'm going to be doing a little story time today on what it was like for me growing up. So if you guys don't know, I'm 30. I just turned 30 a couple weeks ago. I know, but I still look 15. No, I wish I still look 15. But yeah, I'm 30 years old, so I'm going to go a little bit back in time. If you guys have seen some of my story times, you know that they're really crazy. I've been through a couple things and, well, I've been through a lot of things. And if you just watched my recent story time, I will link it up here. It was about how I found out I was put up for adoption, but I later wasn't adopted. So then you guys can get a little insight on my story. So, it is that I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is mostly known for Pittsburgh Steelers. And a little fun fact about that is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are called the Steelers because Pittsburgh is known as the Steel City, because that's where they do all the steel and all that good stuff. But this isn't a history class, so we won't get into that. But yeah, so I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I was born, my mom was about like 19, 20 years old. And from what I'm hearing now, she was on drugs back then as well. And when I say as well, I mean that she was really hard into drugs most of my life. She was an alcoholic. Honestly, I still kind of think sometimes till today she's doing drugs, but I can't prove it, so I'm not too sure about it. Yeah, she was into drugs, and like, I don't know if it was that she didn't want me or whatever it is, but she would leave me at like her friend's house. Then I ended up being left with my grandfather's sister and husband and like so on and so forth. And then my mom got me back and we went to Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida. So while in St. Petersburg, Florida, she put me up for like actual adoption. And I heard that I was going to be adopted by a scientist and an engineer. But when my grandparents heard that that's what was going to happen, they were like, no, that's our granddaughter and we're going to get her. We're not going to let that happen. And yeah, so they flew from Pittsburgh to Florida to get me and then brought me back up to Pittsburgh. So there I lived with them for about a year, and then they moved to Florida, so we were living in Florida again. And then fast forward, when I started kindergarten, I was living back with my mom in Florida. And then first grade, I had to get moved back up to Pittsburgh. So I was there for second and third grade. And then fourth grade, I went back to St. Petersburg, Florida. I was in Florida for about half of fourth grade. Then fifth grade, I was back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then sixth grade, I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I went back down to Florida and I was living with my mom about seventh to the beginning of eighth grade. And then in eighth grade, that's when I moved up here to Rochester, New York. Now, the story behind how I moved up to Rochester, New York is a relatively quick one, but it's just my mom was with my stepdad since I was like 2 or 3 years old. They got married. They were together for a long time. He had a best friend who was from here in Rochester, New York, and he moved down to Florida to work with my dad because my dad had his own trucking business. Well, my stepdad, he had his own trucking business and they were best friends. And long story short, my mom slept with him, which she's known for cheating on my dad. She's known for sleeping around. So she cheated on him. And then a couple months later, we all got home from school and my stepdad got home from work. And there was a letter on the table saying, by the time you find this, I'll be gone to Rochester, New York to live with your best friend. The truck can be picked up at the Tampa International Airport, and so on and so on. So then a couple months later, she told me I was coming up to visit her for Mother's Day weekend, which was in May 2002. And I packed 2 outfits for the weekend, got on a plane, which I was deathly afraid to get on. I haven't been on a plane since then, which was when I was 12 years old. Came up here, got off the plane. When I got in the car, she turned around and said to me, I have bad news for you. you're not going back to Florida. I instantly started crying. I was yelling. I was screaming. I didn't get to say bye to any of my friends. I didn't get to say bye to my stepdad, my little brother, nobody. I had so much resentment towards her, and it was just horrible. And growing up was crazy. Moving back and forth from Pittsburgh to Florida, from Pittsburgh to Florida, saying bye, saying hi, saying how you doing, saying how you been. You know, it was really difficult, especially when you have to readjust back to the school and like the different type of weathers. It was just crazy. But the best times were when I lived with my grandparents. The worst times was when I lived in Florida with my mom. Me and my mom have never, ever, ever had a good relationship. It has always been bad. I don't know why. I honestly think that she hates me. She regrets having me. And it hurts me a lot because I see a lot of people always talking about being with their moms and like all this other stuff. And yeah, I'm getting a little teary-eyed because it kind of hits a rough spot for me. They're always so happy with their moms, and they're like, oh, I'm going to call my mom and tell her this and tell her that. And I call my mom to say, when are you going to give me the money for the phone bill? Pretty much, because I feel like I take care of her even now. So she always used to tell me when I was younger that I was a mistake, that she should have swallowed, that she hated me, that I should have been a boy, that I was going to grow up to be nothing, that I was a piece of shit. My grandmother used to always tell me that it was jealousy. And that's why I lived with my grandparents a lot, because I couldn't live with her. She would get up in the morning, my mother would get up in the morning and start drinking from morning until the night ended. And she would be drunk all the time. She was smoking weed. I don't know what other drugs she was on at that time when we were in Florida, but I'm sure now that I know more about her and I'm a grown-up now, there was a lot more that she did. So then when I moved up here to New York, it just got way worse. She ended up getting on crack cocaine and everything just went down hill from there. And then because I moved so much, it was just horrible, because in Pittsburgh we lived in a really rough part of town, and usually you'll see like a bunch of white people and then a black person is considered the minority of that. Well, here in Pittsburgh there was a lot of black people, and I was considered the minority of that because I was white, Mexican, whichever. A lot of people didn't like me. I got jumped all the time. I got made fun of in school. People would tell me I'm ugly, I'm fat, go back to the dump you came from, we don't like you, you should kill yourself, you'll never be pretty, nobody will ever like you, you look like a boy, just a whole bunch of horrible stuff. And I would go home and cry every day. My grandparents would be up at the school numerous times because of people fighting me and jumping me, and it just got bad. And then amongst my mom telling me that, so it got to the point to where I started to believe all these things. I always had that one person that was like my best friend, my motivation for everything I've ever done, which is my grandmother. This woman was like my mother. She was such a sweet and amazing woman, and I miss her a lot. There's times that I just want to pick up the phone and call her and tell her that I'm having a bad day so that she can make me feel better. And she's not there. This woman lifted me up in numerous ways. And my grandfather too. If I didn't have them, my life probably would have been way, way, way shittier. Sorry for the tears, guys, but it's hard for me to talk about this stuff because I hold a lot of this in and it makes it worse. It makes it really hard because I try to be so strong for my husband and my kids, and it's really hard, especially when both of my grandparents are gone now. Only people in my family that live here in Rochester, New York is my mom, And ever since my grandparents passed away, my whole family has went to shit, and they're all embarrassing a lot of the times because all we do is argue and fight. So now I'm here in New York by myself, and I pretty much take care of my mom even though she doesn't live with me right now. But back to the story. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, growing up was very difficult for me. I would go to school in Florida with bruises on me, and the teachers would ask questions, and then they would call Child Protective Services, and then Child Protective Services would come to the house, and my mom would flip out on them and cuss and swear, and then as soon as they left, she would beat our ass again. I remember that if we had jeans on, she would make us take our jeans off and use a belt on us because she wanted us to feel the full effect. I remember she would grab me by my hair and just throw me into the wall, or just throw me onto the floor and kick me and punch me and hit me with whatever she could find. And as much as I hated it, I never once my whole life put my hands on my mom. Ever. Never raised my hand to her or anything. I don't know if it was out of respect, if it was out of fear, if it was out of anything. I never did. And she would hit my stepdad. She would beat the crap out of my stepdad too. She would be drunk, and he would never lay a hand on her. Never once did he raise his hand to her, touch her, anything. He would just take it. And I used to look and think like, why isn't he hitting her back? And at the time, I didn't really understand that what domestic violence was, that men weren't really supposed to hit women and stuff like that. So I now know why he didn't. But man, I wouldn't have been able to take that shit. I don't know how the hell he took it. I really don't know how he took it. Like, I don't know how I took it, but I did. I took all of it because that was my mom. So that's all I knew how to do, is take it. And then the moment I would be going to live back with my grandparents, I would be so happy, super excited, like, and everything would just change. But I knew once I went back to Pittsburgh, the bullying was going to be there. So either place I was getting tortured, whether it be with my mom or with my grandparents. But at least with my grandparents, I had my support because I knew that when I was at home, I was safe with my grandparents. They raised me to be the woman I am today. That's what I believe. A lot of people in my family are surprised. People that know my mom are surprised about the way that I've turned out, because they always thought that I would grow up to be like her or like the other people in my family. But I didn't. And it's just so crazy how I didn't turn out like that, because most people that grow up in lifestyles how I've grown up turn into drug dealers or being murdered or prostitutes or whores or drug addicts. And by whores, I mean prostitutes and stuff. I'm not calling anybody a whore. But I didn't. And I know there's more people out there that didn't. And there needs to be more people out there to share their stories, for all the people out there that's going through things like that, for all the children that's going through stuff like that. Because these stories can help them know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Because I found my light at the end of the tunnel. I knew what I wanted. I knew where I was going. God gave me the path I walked on for a reason. And that was to make me a stronger person and share my story with you guys. So this is going to be my part 1 of my story time. I'm going to go ahead and do a part 2. But if you want to see the part 2 sooner than later, make sure you comment down below that you want to hear more about my story. That's only like 2% of my life story. Like, you guys have no idea. That was just like a little circle put together really quick for you guys, so I didn't have to make it dreadfully long and horrible. But I want everyone to know, honestly, that you are loved. Even if you don't think it's your family that loves you, somebody out there loves you. Somebody out there loves you. I love you. Know that. Because we're all in this together. And we can't have the world going crazy anymore, because we need love right now more than anything. These children, teenagers, adults, everybody needs love. So that's going to be the end of my video for today, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Sorry for my little breakdown. I didn't mean to do that, but I'm sharing my stories. And if I'm sharing my stories with you guys, that's because I love you guys and I want you guys to know. So, like always, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. And if you're a subscriber, we love you guys so much. Sorry, I just had to do a little close-up because I look a little crazy, right, y'all? Yeah, I look a little crazy. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. We do pranks, challenges, vlogs, story times, all of the above. We want to let everybody in on our dysfunctional family. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, that bell notification, so you could get notified for future videos. And today, our video shout out goes to Michaela121. We love you, girl. Thank you so much for being our support system. We appreciate y'all. And I will see you all later.
If you subscribe to